Guys, welcome back to yet another YouTube video, and in this video we're going to be covering how to W key like Noahreyli. We chose a solo video because I particularly want to teach you guys how to survive in this meta and how to thrive actually, and make sure that you're doing well, whether it comes down to solo arena, whether it comes down to fighting in general, because I think that this is something that a lot of people are going to struggle with, right? Especially in the near future when the solo cash cup comes out. I really believe that a lot of people are going to struggle, and I want to help you guys. I want to make sure that you guys understand that this meta is not uncounterable. Like, there are plays that you can make, there are things that you can do to make sure that you can survive against the SMG. Okay, so that's the first thing. That's the first thing you have to accept, right? Understand that what I'm saying is actually true, right? And accept it to be true. And I'm going to prove it to you in this video, right? In my personal opinion, the number one reason why people are dying to SMGs in this specific meta is the simple fact that they're not spacing correctly. They're playing too close, right? In the previous meta, when people only ran AR pump, it is actually really easy to play close, right? No one ran SMG. It's not really that dangerous. Even if someone jumped in your box with an AR, you would just wait for your pump cooldown and then pump them again. Now in this meta, you don't have a second shot on your pump, right? And the pump in general is not as strong. It's really important to understand that and play accordingly. In this video, I really hope you guys learn something new and learn how to survive against the SMG. This is something that a lot of people are complaining about, and I'm going to break down how Noahreyli does it, right? Because in my personal opinion, a lot of pros are not struggling against SMGs the same way that everyone else is. So what are they doing different, guys? What are they completely doing different that like we don't understand, right? And in this video we're going to teach you that. To sort of break it down, it's two factors, right? Like I said before, it's spacing, you know, making sure you're spacing correctly so that you're not just like full 50-50. You need to have some sort of backup plan if you miss your shot in a 50-50. That's why like you probably will just die if you 50-50 and like just miss your shot, right? So try not to do that. Space accordingly, but more importantly, space according to HP advantage. So if you have really big HP advantage, you have 200 HP, your enemy has like 50 HP, in that case you just want to play a little bit closer to him and potentially even jump in. Okay, this guy's dead. There's nothing to really analyze here, but basically you just want to play off your HP advantage and space accordingly. For example, if you're lower on HP compared to your opponent, maybe he hits you for 100 and you're not having a good time, in that case you want to run away. You want to run away and try to heal and make sure you're just constantly keeping one box distance from your opponent. And if the opponent is running at you and you're not able to counter that because for whatever reason, in this case, I think the biggest reason why Noahreyli actually pushed in, by the way, is because he has 5 builds. The only reason why he committed. He doesn't have much time left. But other than that, there's not much else. He just takes a 50-50 and then he goes in. You just want to make sure that, you know, you're able to read your opponent. Like, what are they trying to do? And always assume they're going to be pushing towards you. That's actually what a lot of people are doing in this meta. And as long as you're preparing for it in some way, whether it's making 2x1 boxes when you're playing defensively, or just like sort of spacing a little bit further away, or having some sort of exit plan, maybe a cone in your box. When your opponent does jump in, you have the cone flip into edit left or right wall. Like, these are options, right? You need to have all of these ready. And in general, if you just win the first trade of every single fight, you'll be on the offense, right? And it's really hard for the opponent to actually just jump in your box when they're 1 HP, right? There are several things you could do. So first of all, in this specific fight, Noahreyli actually gets a pretty good lead right here. Only hits him for 20, but then after hits him for 90, but then gets hit back, right? So in my personal opinion, that's like a really even HP advantage situation. Unfortunately, like, he does get a pretty large hit on him. So he does need to heal. Like, he's not, even with 3 builds, he's not going to rush in. Just not a good idea. I think in this case, wow, that was really smart. Okay, so let's talk about what Noahreyli did here. This is not something that commonly is given to you, like in terms of an opportunity, but Noahreyli here just looks to catch the opponent with the floor and then throw them off guard by editing that exact same floor. And this is a really good strategy to really catch people off guard and not have them ready. And it does work a lot of the time. And then after, because of the simple fact that he doesn't have builds to spare, he just looks to spray and pressure, okay? Right? And I want you to notice this pause. It's really nice to leave like a stair or something 1 HP and pause, and then your opponent's gonna think you're either reloading or you're not focused on them anymore, and then when you continue spraying, you could potentially get damage when they're not holding, right? So then Noahreyli pauses here. Watch it one more time. Really nice. I actually think it's a good strategy. A lot of people in this meta, especially like the noobs that use the SMG, they're doing it wrong, right? They're actually not doing it correctly. They should sort of, you know, test the wall once. Like, if they're trying to get into the wall, test it once. At that point, if you don't get in, there's genuinely no reason to continue spraying, right? Because if you didn't get in, that means the opponent's holding, and if you just kept spraying constantly, you're just gonna get the exact same result as the previous wall breaks. So just make sure that you're sort of pausing and throwing them off guard. Use different rhythms in your spray, and you'll actually find that you get in a lot more often. Right, so there's these strategies that you can use. So Noahreyli misses at it 3 times, but doesn't matter. This guy's super low, guys. That sort of strategy to catch him on the floor literally won Noahreyli that fight. Oh, actually, the opponent's in the next box, not even the one before. So he gets a lot of damage off a right hand peek, and then in this case he needs to aggress, right? He needs to make sure the opponent doesn't go that far. So something to note, this is a really small trick, but you can actually recycle these launch pads, but you actually have to jump on them like really perfectly. So watch out for that. It takes a little bit of practice. Creative could be really useful here if you want to get used to that. But it is hard to pull off. In this case, the opponent's like 2 to 3 blocks up. It would actually make no sense with Noahreyli's mats, or even if he was 5x5, to sort of climb up there when you can just chop out 4 walls and be able to get him down. In this case, Noahreyli full pieces him. Takes the 50-50. Why? Because of HP advantage, right? Obviously, Noahreyli has good aim, but I think you guys can do this too. Noahreyli gets tagged, looks to heal. Okay, he's just gonna pop some heals, so let's go forward. Pops mini, pop big. Waits for the opponent to approach him, because obviously, like, during that distance, you just want to pop your heals. Doesn't make sense. Goes for a wide edit trade, like tries to catch the opponent like by surprise. But I want you to notice the difference between what he did there compared to what he's going to do now. So obviously if he got hit as well on that bad dry peak, he would probably play the fight differently after that. But because he noticed he didn't get hit and he actually successfully surprised his opponent, now he's going to play the fight pretty aggressive, right? Because he should. This is the sole reason that I see. So he hears the squad, tries to tag it. He's worried about third parties, so he doesn't even care if the guy heals up. He's just gonna really worry about third parties. This angle right here is one of the strongest angles in the game. You really need to learn this if you haven't learned it already. And when I say learn this, I mean understand where to look to pickaxe, because that's not completely obvious. Obviously you should look at the wall, but there's certain spots where like it'll hit the cone or whatever, even though you're looking at the wall. So try to get used to that. But more importantly, you should be able to edit from this angle and place the cone in the box from this angle really comfortably. This angle is really, really strong, especially against SMG players, because if you notice, if they jump out through their wall, they're not on your layer. It's actually hard for them to get to you. Obviously, they can try to like full PC, but it's gonna be really difficult from this angle. Number 2, if they're coming in from the cone, which is obviously something I'm pretty sure everyone in the comments is gonna comment on, so let's cover this angle as well. If they're coming in from this angle where their cone is and trying to edit, double edit up, you can see that well ahead of time because of the simple fact that, first of all, they have to place a ramp in the box. That's the first tell. The second tell is the floor is going to be edited. The third tell is the roof's going to be edited, or a wall is going to be placed before the roof's edited, right? There's just so many signs through double edits that you can just predict it. You can just place a wall right here. And if he claims this before you, you just need to place this. This is what diagonal blocks fighting does for you. It creates you extra layers where you can place walls for yourself and sort of space, right? You want to make sure you have a safe distance against an opponent that you don't have HP advantage against, right? Just make sure you have that. It's very, very important. So Noahreyli is actually super quick here. These are things that like a lot of people don't do, and then when they get full box SMG 50-50, they complain, right? So this wall is very important, right? His first instinct when he understands that he's about to get boxed is to not pre-fire the opponent, even though the opponent made a completely like wide dry peek on Noahreyli. Crosshairing is not a good habit, guys. It genuinely isn't something that you should get in the habit of doing, for the simple fact that if this guy decides to make a good peek, your crosshair is now useless, right? It doesn't actually do much. So you shouldn't rely on that. So in this case, Noahreyli looks to his left, claims one wall, which is really all he needs, and then gets out. If you had to choose between one direction, left is definitely better if you can do that, because of the simple fact that after you go left, you have a right hand peek back onto your opponent, like right here, right? So we'll watch it one more time. I'll show you what I mean. So opponent gets the full box, and in this specific case, you can see that as Noahreyli runs out, if he wants to go for the right hand, he totally had the option to do that, right? It's really nice. I don't think it's easy to process that like really, really quickly, but if you get used to that sort of thing, you can totally bring it up in game, where you're like exiting away from a full box from your opponent and then you go for a right hand. But again, same angle as before, right? It's a really strong angle for safe trades. And what I mean by safe trades is like sort of short chip damage. And even if you were to get hit, right, which is super unlikely in the first place because of the simple fact that you have a right hand, you're usually right-handing this edge right here. But if you do get hit, you're in a safe position where you can just run away, right? You're not committed, which is really nice. So this is like a good like poke back and forth angle, where you just want to get some damage and create an advantage because you don't have any advantage right now. So Noahreyli takes 20, the enemy takes 50. Obviously a one trade for Noahreyli, but not by that much, right? In this case, you understand that both the floor and the cone are weak builds because of the simple fact that they were edited and reset, which both honestly half the HPs, right? So you want to just spray through this. That's exactly what Noahreyli does. You can catch them off guard and get a lot of free damage. In that case, the opponent should have broke his own floor and replaced it to create a high HP floor. Again, same angle as before. Like I said, good pre-fire to hit him 20. Unfortunately, he gets into a 50-50, but because of his safe angles before and his good trades, he actually wins it because of the HP advantage. The opponent's so low at that point. Next fight. Right hand peeks the cone, hits only 20. Shotguns are actually so bad this season. I totally agree with you guys, but that does not mean that you can't make good plays, right? That does not mean the SMGs are not uncounterable. Now, they are frustrating, but they're not uncounterable. You see his space correctly and take these safe angles. The angle that Noahreyli just did 2 fights ago, the angle where he just like stayed to the top left, is one of the angles that I show all the time in my videos. It's really good, guys. It's really strong, and I really recommend you try it out for yourself if you haven't already. It's really nice. And then here tries to get the double edits on the opponent. So in this case, so this is like really good mat awareness. You understand you only have 200 mats, and in this case, it's just better to not try to crank over and over if possible. Because obviously third parties exist, but the bigger reason is the fact that you don't have the mats to crank, right? So in this case, he goes up because he like sees that the opponent's boxing up. So in this case, it's fine to go up. And he's just pressuring with SMG because of the simple fact that he doesn't have mats to pressure otherwise. So this is just the play, right? Has to get him on the counterclockwise, right? So let's talk about this. If you were to sort of jump up on this stair, notice how you're just getting left hand. Like let's say you put a floor underneath you, and then jumped up on this stair right here, right? See this stair right here? If you were to jump up on that stair, the problem is the opponent sitting right here can right hand this edge, right? And so if you really think about it from bird's eye view, from above, what's happening, right? Let's say this is the tower. Let's say this is the tower right here. Noahreyli in this case would be doing something like this. This is clockwise, right? You're sort of moving clockwise. You want to avoid this at all costs because naturally your opponent's gonna have right hands on you, and naturally you're gonna have left hands on your opponent. Now let's look at another scenario, right? Where you're going counterclockwise, right? You're going like this, right? If you really think about it, what Noahreyli's doing when he moves up to this side is going counterclockwise, right? He's just going around to the right. From your perspective, if you got to choose a direction, move to your right, right? Go around to the right, and that's going to allow you to find natural right hand peaks. You don't even have to overthink it. Don't worry about it, right? This is an option. Like you could put a stair. See the stair right here? You could put the stair right here, right? And then go up the tower that way. That's an option. Or if you see the opponent drop down like this, which is exactly what happens in this game, Noahreyli goes this way, right? Which is technically counterclockwise around the opponent, right? And so it's really nice because he looks to find right hand peaks, right? I want to show you this immediate right hand peak on this edge, right? Which is really nice because this guy can barely see Noahreyli, but Noahreyli sees the entire body. If you just loop around in a counterclockwise direction, or put more simply, move around to the right, you're gonna find a lot of natural right hand peaks. This is really nice for you, right? It's what you want to do, especially in a situation where you have little mats and you just want to find natural peaks instead of like stuff that you can edit. That's really nice. I think this tip will help a lot of people in terms of like finding good peaks. Really good attempt by the opponent to like quick run at Noahreyli. I imagine the opponent's out of mats too. I really think so. Yeah, siphon mats. It really does look like that. In this case, Noahreyli now has healthy mats. This is actually a really cool fight. I remember seeing this. So again, same situation, and note that he goes out to the left. Same thing, right? And it's nice to go out to the left because of the simple fact that you can find right hand peak after you look back, if you need to, right here, right? So if going out to the left is better than going out to the right because of this simple reason. Now look, right hand peak, sees the enemy. If the enemy wants to continue to handshake this trade, he will lose. So in this case, the enemy, understanding this, looks to dip, right? Looks to get out, which is really smart by the enemy. I think this enemy is actually really good. He's a good player. Right, so Noahreyli's looking to go around and try to find right hand peaks if possible. Nice try. Get out of here. The opponent controls. Okay, so this is the part that I'm really impressed by. So the opponent controls this wall, which is really smart, right? Good piece control. Noahreyli understands that this is right now a 50-50 zone, right? You don't want to be in this situation, and also this stair is not even yours, right? It's literally the opponent placed probably 2 seconds ago, right? So you don't want to like try to attempt to edit the stair. You just know that it's not yours because you're super aware, like Noahreyli, and you understand the only counterplay in this case where if you don't want a 50-50, honestly Noahreyli shouldn't do that because he missed his shot here, and the other guy has attack, right? Like I personally think you lose this, right? So Noahreyli, instead of trading, which is already a lost cause because he missed his pump shot, he should just leave. And this is the difference between Noahreyli and even advanced players. That's the thing that I want you guys to notice, is the simple fact that he decides to leave, whereas a lot of players would continue to handshake that 50-50 because it's probably the most autopilot, easy decision to make. Like, if you're in the situation, you see an enemy right in front of you, I'm going to shoot. The reason why he wants to get out is because he hasn't done any damage to his enemy. He's losing on the HP advantage front. And because of that, it's not a good fight to take. It's probably better to re-engage after you've done a lot of healing, right? Good cone. It's probably going to spray him down. Really good damage. So every time this is the case, when you naturally catch something like this, first of all, let's talk about like what he did. A lot of people may not know. I'm not going to assume like that you guys know like, everything, so let's cover this as well. In this case, he places a high wall to catch the opponent off guard, and also block any incoming shots, right, from the opponent. But more importantly, you get the piece. You get to place this wall, and then you have edit privileges after to do this edit, and to place the cone. And when you place the cone, you need to look in this area, top half of the window. If you look in the top half of the window, the cone will actually attach to the top of the wall. So even if there's no walls here, on the sides, or even in the back, you're just attaching the cone onto your wall. So this pattern of wall edit into top cone is a really common pattern that I think you should really learn, right? It's really common to use this pattern. Now, sometimes when you do use this pattern, this situation will happen where they get pokeballed in the roof. And when this does happen, the best thing to do is, a lot of people make this mistake. You don't want to go up in piece control. You don't want to do anything fancy. Literally, as soon as you see this, pull out your fastest firing weapon and just shoot. You will get so much free damage. Even if you don't kill them right then and there, you will eventually snowball that fight into a win. So let's talk about this, right? SMGs, let's talk about how much damage he does. Does like 80 to 100 damage for free, right? Instead of looking to full box him and then force a 50-50 like for no reason, let's just do damage, guys. Let's get a lead, right? And that's exactly what he does. Sprays at the wall a couple times to pressure, and then gets 50 more damage, hits him 50 again. At this point, this guy's 1 HP, and there's absolutely no reason why Noahreyli shouldn't use this. So let's talk about what he does after. This is really smart, right? So he sprays at the opponent, hits him, and then also takes the wall all in one go, which is really, really nice. And the only reason that's the case is because SMG is really fast firing, obviously, but he's tracking him through the builds. Like, he's looking at where he's going. So make sure that when you are spraying walls, you actually are spraying at the opponent as well, especially if you're using an SMG. So let's talk about what happens very, very micro here, okay? So in this specific case, Noahreyli takes the wall, as I mentioned before, goes for the shot, sees that the cone was edited. The problem was the cone is super weak now, right? So like, the enemy doing this does not do him any favors. Noahreyli accidentally breaks the cone, and in the process, as he sees this, he's going to place his own and then switch weapons, right? Like, I feel like he had to switch weapons anyways, right? So let's talk about how much ammo he had. He had like 13 bullets, so he just switches weapons during that time. It's like a nice seamless transition. You might as well switch weapons then, so you don't have to do it later, right? So 13 bullets may not be enough to kill if you like spam too much. So just a nice transition. The whole sequence was really good. The best part of that whole sequence was the simple fact that after accidentally breaking the cone, he chooses to replace it. Like, immediately notices and does that. And I'm pretty sure that catches the enemy off guard, and does a really good job of, just winning the fight right then and there. But really good piece control. So that's good. This game is coming to a close. The biggest things that I've personally learned is that you should really play off HP advantage. And if you don't, know how to trade properly, maybe you just suck at doing damage and reducing your taken damage, right? Maybe that's just like how you are, because you haven't practiced as much or whatever, or you just feel like you're stuck. That's completely fine. Really practice this through Soul Arena, even if you're losing, guys. Like, trust me, the lessons you'll learn in this meta, because you have to understand, like, the next 3 months is going to be Chapter 3, Season 1. There's nothing you can do about it. So let's work on trying to fix that by just getting better, right? As a competitive player, your job is not to worry about the meta, even though it is frustrating. Your job is to figure out how to compete in the meta, right? So if you care about being a competitive player, that's what you should be worried about, literally, and nothing else. It's not up to you to decide, right? Obviously, trust me too, I would prefer this pass, trust me. But the problem is that doesn't help me get better at this season at all, right? I think at this point, Noahreyli's just playing around because of the simple fact he knows this game's over, and also this guy that he's fighting is not that good. Fair enough. But basically, Noahreyli is really, really good at not getting boxed. So that's one thing, right? So you have to understand, if your enemy boxes you, what's going to happen immediately after is the simple fact that your enemy's going to try to full box you and then 50-50 you. Now, I know you don't want that, right? So the best way to counter that is to have, number one, good reaction time, right? You want to have really good reaction time, so you can place those walls around you. And then step 2 obviously is to place those walls, to have defensive piece control or exit control or exit piece or whatever you want to call it, right? Make sure you own that wall, so then you have edit privileges to get out of that box. And then after that, you just need to make sure that if you had a choice, you would go out the left, right? So if you're able to go out both ways, try to prefer to go out the left, so that you can immediately look back through the exact same hole that you edited, and go for a right hand peek. So that's really nice. I think a lot of people don't do that and then miss out on free opportunities to do damage back. So in general, 2 main concepts is HP advantage and spacing. Spacing is actually one of the most important ones. I see a lot of clips on Fortnite in chapter 3 where spacing is just not respected, right? You guys are both 200 HP. You're like dropping the enemy in your box. You're like doing a whole bunch of things that's just not recommended for a kid with an SMG that you're fighting. Just try not to do that, guys. Like literally try to focus up on trying to make sure you're going for chip damage, and then slowly as you've created an advantage, you're going for more chip damage, then you go for the all-in, right? That's how it works. You're not supposed to go for a full all-in when you don't have what's called like lethal. You need to make sure you're jumping in when you have low HP on the enemy before you actually full commit. So really make sure that you're just not, autopiloting and just playing the game how it was played last season, because truly that's not how it's supposed to be played. You sort of have to respect the personal space of the opponent until you have leverage to do that. And when I say leverage, I mean HP advantage, right? Make sure you've done 150 damage before you decide to jump in. And I think you'll just have a much better time if that's the case, right? If you play fights that way. Obviously, if you take damage, then figure out, let's talk about it, right? VOD review, figure out how you're taking damage and how to avoid it. It'll usually come down to one of 2 reasons. You are not aware of the opponent's position, or you're not building quickly enough. And when I say building quickly enough, I'm not talking about like speedy builds and like just editing everything. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying place the builds really fast when it's important to place them, right? So if you need to place a floor above your head to block your shot, you need to be placing that quick. You need to be processing that information in your head and being able to place that floor really quick. So just make sure you know all these concepts. They will help you out a lot. This meta is not supposed to be played the exact same as the last meta if you want to succeed in terms of fighting. So just keep playing solo arena. Even if you die a lot, trust me, it is so worth it. And I think you guys will have a lot of success in the solo cash cups if you keep up the good practice. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to the ending of this video if you made it this far. I really appreciate all of you guys, seriously. The support on this channel has been really mind-blowing, and I don't plan to stop anytime soon. I'll see you guys in the next video.